Today in the crypto space, we're seeing a fat dip to the downside. Bitcoin down to about $67,300. Guys, a dip about 4.5%. Ethereum also down below that $3,500 mark, down approximately 8%. The rest of the crypto space, the altcoins are deep in the red. Guys, a lot of these altcoins are coming down to those lower levels. And the question is, how much lower could we go? In today's video, I'm going to talk about the general market. I'm going to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, but I want to focus on Bitcoin, guys. I know a lot of us are wondering what's happening here with the overall market and what's happening with the Bitcoin dominance. So you know what? Let's talk about the news. Let's analyze the charts and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunities. Whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of the volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover here on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. You can hit me up on the socials. The links are in the description. And of course, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setup fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is absolutely free. All right, guys, let's begin. Guys, is the party over? Is it done? Did we, are we coming down for another bear market? Guys, look, these are pullbacks. This is what happens in this market. We see Bitcoin coming down. It's only down 5%. The reality is what makes this worse is not only, did it break down from structure? I get it, doesn't look good. It's 5% dip. Guys, I kind of felt like, this would, kind of solidify the top behavior that we've been seeing here for Bitcoin. But what makes this even worse is the altcoin market. Of course, altcoins right now are bleeding out against Bitcoin. Bitcoin at least is only down 5%. Some of these altcoins are dipping a lot more. Now the question is, are we done with our convictions? Are we ready to perhaps buy the dips and accumulate at these lower levels? Guys, here on the channel, we don't mind up or down, bearish or bullish. However, guys, it's also very important that we don't try to catch a falling knife. I felt like in the last couple of days, especially during the live stream last night, we noticed that a lot of the setups were still looking bearish, still looking like they wanted to come down. We talked about Realio breaking necklines and coming down. We talked about Arweave not looking the greatest. We looked at the indicator, our indicator here on the channel that we use, obviously looking like it was rolling over. And this is what we get, guys. These are bearish conditions that should be taken advantage of. All right, guys, let's scrape through the top 100. Let's see what's going on here. Generally speaking, obviously, we know that the general consensus is that we're dipping down, about double digit. We're looking at some of these altcoins are down 10 to 20%. Toncoin coming down, Cardano down 17%, and the list goes on. I'm not going to go through them all, but you get my point. Look at this. Everything is dipping. We do have a few kind of going sideways, at least, right? But obviously not stable coins, right? But the rest of them are dipping, right? This is the thing. And this is why I always say, guys, get defensive. Get defensive on green days and get offensive in red days. Now it's time to shift. In the last little while, I've been saying trail up those stop losses, take profits, skim off the top, take 10%, 20%, anything in preparation for these days. I have a very basic rule. The basic rule for me is always have 10% in stable. Have dry powder, 10% at minimum, 10% at all times. Be ready with 10% in stables so that you can deploy capital when the best opportunities come around. Now, this is an opportunity. I don't know if it's the best opportunity. We'll take a look at the charts shortly. We'll take a look at Bitcoin. We'll take a look at the Bitcoin dominance, and we'll come up with an idea of where could we be forming a bottom. But don't try to catch that falling knife. You can see that even BitTensor did come down, but it's still holding structure, right? It's a very bullish project in the last little while. At best case scenario, we get a bounce here on BitTensor. But if the market keeps on, coming down, even BitTensor, Tau, a very bullish project, will also keep on dipping. Nothing, like I mentioned this before, no project will withstand the wrath of Bitcoin's dips. And this is what's happening here. This is why I follow Bitcoin on a daily basis. Because when I see Bitcoin frothy, when I see Bitcoin go sideways, when I see momentum dip down, guys, that's when I'm saying, you know what? I'm not getting into a Bitcoin trade. obviously, but I'm also focusing on absolute bottom prices on altcoin positions. In the last little while, all I've been looking for is bottoms, bottoms, bottoms. And if you notice, a lot of the bottoms that I have been buying in the last say 2-3 weeks, which weren't many, but they were the only ones that are at the bottom of the range, and a lot of them are still holding up okay in comparison to Bitcoin because they're at critical levels of support. Okay, so we can talk about some of these tonight live at 7:30, guys. Feel free to join. We talk about crypto news and price action and hunt for opportunities, of course. And this market right now is giving us the potential of the last opportunity before we get a continuation to the upside for this raging bull run. VeChain coming down 10%, still looking okay, still within structure, but it's coming down 10%. The rest of the market is breaking down, structurally breaking down, making lower lows, a severe lower low here. Ethereum, dipping down, still okay, making higher highs and higher lows. So it's okay, still okay, but structurally okay. But you see the rest of the market definitely coming down. What else do we have here? Neo, still okay. Maybe the hang time does kick in here and roll over, but still within structure, higher highs and higher lows. As you can see, BTT coming down. It was interrupted. It's a little bit of a rally that it was getting in the last little while. But all good. We're still kind of holding those previous lows. Do we hold them as support and continue? Maybe, maybe not. And you can see that the rest of the market is pretty much in a very similar scenario. Dips throughout the market. And again, a lot of people question, when is this dip going to be done? When should I be, getting into this market? Guys, timing the market is the worst thing that you could ever do. If you're new to the space, guys, some of the advice I'm going to give you, obviously it's not financial advice that I'm telling you, but what I am saying is this: on red days, don't rush. Don't rush. Do your research. Wait, get those confirmations, because the worst thing that you can do is deploy too much capital too quick. So it's better to be safe than sorry. Risk management is important. Okay, guys, let's move on. Guys, I know you're here to talk about charts. Let's begin. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Let's see what's going on with the Bitcoin chart. Going sideways, obviously still within structure. This is what keeps me intact. This is what keeps me somewhat bullish here. Right, obviously in the short term I was bearish. I mentioned the diamond shapes right up here being formed on the indicator, and all of a sudden, this momentum indicator is starting to show me weakness. Guys, I'm not going to be hanging around here to see what happens. We need to get defensive. All right, guys, let's look at this in a little bit more detail. We're still within range. We're still within a consolidation here on Bitcoin, but ultimately, how much sideways could we get? Do we get a bit of a bounce, or do we actually break through horizontal support lines? If you kind of look at what's happening here, we're at the $60,700 level, and if we do not hold that level, guys, it's starting to look really, really bad for Bitcoin. Super bad. Now, at this current level, we are consolidating. We're still doing okay. We could still make a higher low in comparison to this low. We could still fulfill the symmetrical triangle here. We could still do all that we expect here for the bull run and consolidate going sideways. So big picture on the daily, we're still okay here for Bitcoin. We're still okay for the market in general, because if we see Bitcoin form a bottom, we could see the altcoin market do a quick U-turn and get right back to where it started. However, again, guys, be careful out there. Altcoins are very volatile. Let's wait for that bottom and deploy. If you've been looking at some of the altcoin buys that we've been doing here on the channel, we've bought early. We got in very, very early. So the reality is the current dip of today, let's say it's 20%. It's nothing in comparison to the gains that we've been making on Tau, on Render, on Arweave even, on Realio, on many projects that we've been hustling to get those entries all year long. They are deep in the green. So a 20% retracement is nothing in comparison. So what we have to do is expect a retracement here. Now, if we see that the momentum, the purple line gets completely oversold here on the daily, expect more dip, expect more green. You can see that we're falling a little bit here. Do we break these previous two lows, guys? If we break these previous two lows here on the momentum, this low and this low, guys, the trend continues to the downside. This was an impulse, sideways chop zone, and then continue to oversold conditions. And of course, those red diamonds that leave me really, really, bearish at this current moment, because they're giving me a signal that the momentum could eventually build an expansion from here. We could expand to the downside. But like I said, if we maintain the symmetrical triangle structure here, we're still okay. Market wide, we are still okay. The MACD is not looking the greatest. EMAs are facing down with red histogram bars. Fine. Another fake out, guys. Another fake out. Just keep in mind the best time to get into a bullish stance using the MACD is when you get an EMA cross and you get at least one histogram bar in the opposite direction. In this case, a green green histogram bar, and that would give me a bit of confidence. We're coming down to the bearish control zone. How deep do we go, guys? Don't try to time the market. It's very, very difficult. Let's wait for those confirmations. Let's wait for a double bottom. Let's wait for a bullish divergence. Let's wait for anything here in the price to suggest that we're done dipping. There is none. That's the problem right now. And I've been saying this for the last couple of days, is that there's not many indicators out there across the market, and especially on some of the altcoins. Yesterday, it was very difficult to find bullish projects. I got in on a few last night based on a hunch, just a punt. I bought a bit of Truth, bought a bit of this, bought a bit of that. But honestly, the position sizes when you're in this certain state have to reflect the risk that you're taking. So small buy orders, and then be able to deploy bigger capital positions at lower levels. So we're waiting for Bitcoin to form a bottom, and we're waiting for Bitcoin to show us where those lower levels are. Now, again, the momentum is kind of stagnant, still in the chop zone. Do we break down and so on? We're gonna watch that. And lower levels for me, maybe about 53,000. Maybe we hit about 52,000. Right around this level could be the zone where we find Bitcoin's bottom and then get that bounce. But I would really like this bull flag to fulfill and get a continuation to the upside. Guys, the market doesn't promise you anything. It doesn't do what you like. It does what it's got to do, and then ultimately we have to be prepared to take advantage of whatever it does. All right, guys, let's get into the lower time frames. Let's see what's going on here on the 4 hour. From a 4 hour perspective, we got a bit of a buy up in the last little while. We came down pretty hard on that dump, but you can see that wick, and then you can see that the momentum on the 4 hour already got into a somewhat oversold condition. The MACD is still facing down, EMAs are facing down, red histogram bars are there. So maybe in the short term we do get a bit of relief. The expansion to the upside was really interrupted. You can see that the green expansion wave right here basically came right back down real quick. Now do we get an expansion to the downside? That will happen over time. We're beginning. You can see that right here. Let me zoom in so you can see where it's beginning. The expansion to the downside is beginning. So based on the 4 hour, could we continue? Could we come down to a level of maybe about 60,000 to touch this previous low double bottom, or maybe make a nice bull flag, a nice symmetrical, or a nice bull flag that's a nice channel? That still could be very possible here, guys. So let's just keep in mind that we're very early here to try to catch bottoms. Don't try to catch that falling knife. We're waiting for data. The 4 hour is looking a little bit better, but the daily is not giving you an edge whatsoever, guys. Be careful with scaling in too early. Let's jump on the Bitcoin dominance real quick. The Bitcoin dominance broke out. Okay, it broke out really strong, and of course the Bitcoin dominance basically tells you the relationship between Bitcoin and the altcoin market. Now when Bitcoin goes sideways, right, and altcoins run up, we're gonna see the Bitcoin dominance fall. When Bitcoin runs up while the altcoins fall, we're going to see Bitcoin dominance run up. And this is pretty much what we're seeing right now. Bitcoin is holding up in comparison to altcoins. Bitcoin, as we speak, is down 4%, while the average altcoin is down between 10 to 20%. The majority of them are down about, 15%, significant double-digit dips everywhere. So, of course, Bitcoin is outperforming the altcoin market. So this is quite important that we understand that the major gainers in the last little while are dipping down. Why? Because they left volume gaps below, and those volume gaps are vulnerabilities. Those are areas of weakness where we could see the market retrace. And of course tonight we'll look at those opportunities. We can revisit some of them that we've talked about on the channel, like Rio and Arweave. Those were two that looked primed for a breakdown, and all of a sudden we see the Bitcoin dominance taking full control and in the driver's seat. Now where could I expect Bitcoin dominance to go? A lot of the bulls, the Bitcoin maxis, are talking about a 59%. To be honest, that's very possible. Let's zoom out a little bit so you can see why that is an area of interest. And the area of interest is primarily because of previous price action, which is right here. And for me, because I use the volume profile significantly here on the channel, I can see this empty space of weakness that suggests that the dominance could reach its completion zone or target, which is at about 59%. And if you look at the W formation out of this breakout, that's the target anyway. That's the around that level. So guys, let it happen. Let's rip it off like a band-aid. Let's get Bitcoin going. We're bullish on the entire crypto space. We just got to understand that right now Bitcoin is getting going. And of course, there's some news that is coming out that could instill a bit of fear in the market. You know, these are global issues, and we'll talk about them tonight. I don't want to bring them up right now, but we'll let the story develop and we'll talk about it. But generally speaking, right now we can see that Bitcoin is in the driver's seat. And when Bitcoin starts to move, usually people take their capital from their altcoins and put them in Bitcoin, in safer projects. And when there's world issues, of course, we start to see assets like gold do well. And Bitcoin has been one of those safe havens as well. But Bitcoin, as we speak, is down approximately 4.5%. So maybe that sentiment is not really there right now. So let's see what happens in the next little while, guys. Remember, the halving is in about 8 days or so, 7 days. And ultimately, we need to be preparing for that conviction. If your conviction is still that we're going to get into that bull run, and maybe we got a pre-halving dip, a post-halving dip, or a dip right in the halving, whatever it is, guys, if your convictions are still there, ensure you have enough dry powder to buy those dips on the red days. All right, guys, so this is where we at with the overall Bitcoin dominance. It looks like it might want to come up a little bit higher and give Bitcoin the opportunity to run. And of course, that happening, if we go back to Bitcoin, is going to allow Bitcoin to at least go sideways, or at best case scenario, maybe Bitcoin breaks out bullish. But as we speak, everything is selling off. So I wouldn't dare to think right now from a bullish perspective that is happening. Let us find the bottom on Bitcoin first, on the 4 hour, at least at minimum, within this triangular consolidation. And then we can talk about it being a bull flag. As of now, things are coming down, guys. Enjoy the dips. Enjoy the weekend, guys. Just remember, the weekend is a very tough time to be trading, given the fact that we do have a lot of volatility. There's a lot of the order books are very thin, a lot of price manipulation, and we want to be very safe out there given the current circumstances of the market. Guys, do that research, buy those dips, find those projects that you like fundamentally, and put those buy orders at the bottom levels and accumulate nice and slow, and you should be good for the up and coming bull run. Guys, if I've offered you any value in the video, do the channel a massive favor and slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Feel free to join the Discord, guys. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.